Dear second year students, I will teach you the poem Daffodils. 4 of the lines have already been covered. Today, I will focus my attention to the couplet. The 4 lines, the rhyme scheme ABAB, 4 lines, the rhyme scheme ABAB have gone. A couplet is left, that is CC, couplet. Every stanza has a couplet. The poem contains 4 stanzas, ABAB, CC. The rhyme scheme is ABAB, CC. I have told you, this is a nature poem, the nature poem of William Wordsworth. But one thing you are to keep in memory, there is a realism. There is a realism of adherence to nature. So that is done by Wordsworth. Wordsworth has a realism of the adherence towards nature. We cannot ignore that there is no realism, only nature is there, only nature prevails, only nature reigns. We cannot say that. But there is a realism hidden. There is a realism lurking behind. There is a realism. That is the realism of Wordsworth. Very important. The realism of Wordsworth is very important. It is categorized. So that is why some of the critics, like C.M. Baura, one of the critics, C.M. Baura, in a romantic imagination. In a romantic imagination, the name of the book is Romantic Imagination. There he has pointed out, Wordsworth has a realism. That realism is attached to the nature itself. That has adherence towards the nature itself. We cannot ignore. Dear students, Wordsworth is a poet who cannot be taken so lightly. He is a very serious poet. You mark, in the 4 lines of the poem, what I have covered, which I have already covered, in the 4 lines, he has pointed out that he saw a large number of daffodils. But he has not given the place where the daffodils were seen. But later on, in a couplet, he has already given the name of the place. Where daffodils were tossing their heads, they are fluttering and dancing. In the latter stage, in the couplet, in that same stanza, he has given the name of the place. So dear students, just while wandering just like a nomad, he came across a large number of daffodils. So these daffodils have a special attraction for him. He was not mesmerized. He had no necromantic touch. The daffodils have never made any necromantic touch, magical touch. Rather, they have presented their natural beauty. So this is important, you mark. Daffodils have presented their natural beauty. The poet is attracted towards this natural beauty, but he is not mesmerized, or he is not charmed. He is not charmed, he is not mesmerized. He is attached to the majestic and the natural beauty of these daffodils. And he was wandering just like a piece of cloud. He was wandering aimlessly, without having any aim in him, without having any objective in him. He was wandering just like a piece of cloud. And he compared himself with the piece of cloud. I have told you, a divine embodiment. A piece of cloud, I do not want to go to science. How a piece of cloud is formed, I don't want to tell you. This is about science will tell. But to our conception, to our belief, to our speculation, to our belief, we think normally, we say that a piece of cloud is having that a divine embodiment. And Wordsworth has already compared himself with the piece of cloud which is floating over his head, over the valley, over the mountain, over the hillocks, over the hills, and finally he came closer to a large number of daffodils. First of all, the poet was attracted towards daffodils, and then he would point out the name of the place where he saw the daffodils. You mark, you come to the couplet, the second two lines, the last two lines of the stanza. Beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Beside the lake and beneath the trees. So the name of the lake is Ullswater. Though the poet is silent about Ullswater, but he has pointed out that he saw a large number of daffodils, a large number of golden daffodils beside the lake and beneath the tree, under the tree and beside the lake, in the lake district, on the margin of the bay, on the margin of the bay, the lake district, beside the lake, he saw a large number of daffodils, a host of golden daffodils. The daffodils look golden, no doubt. The daffodils look like gold. And they glitter, they flutter, they dance. And the poet is attached to, the poet is akin to, attached to the beauty what the daffodils have presented. You mark. Beside the lake and beneath the trees, beside the lake and beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. You mark the work of fluttering and dancing is going on at the same time. Fluttering and dancing are going at the same time. It refers to the perpetuality. It refers to the perenniality, perpetuality, permanence. Fluttering is going on, dancing is going on. You mark, students, when the birds fly, just they flap their wings, and the wings produce the fluttering sound. Very mild sound, very musical sound, and very rhythmical, you mark. This is a rhythmical sound. This is a musical sound, because song has its beauty. I will never forget to give you one example of William Wordsworth's poems. The name of the poem is Solitary Reaper. You might have read the poem, heard the poem. So there is a similarity. In Solitary Reaper, Wordsworth has seen, Wordsworth has heard the very beautiful song sung by the Highland girl. Sung by the Highland girl, very beautiful song. While the lass, the lady, was reaping the corn, she was also singing at the same time. And the poem carries the very essence of the song. For the poet has understood what is the essence of the poem. The poet has understood. What is the meaning of the poem? What does the poem say? What does the song say? What does the song say? The poet wants to ponder, to collect all these things. Finally, he is successful, finding out the essence of the poem, the essence of the song. The poem, lyrical poem, what I am telling, lyrical poem. Because there is a lyricism, there is a lucidity, or there is the quality of the song in a poem, in a lyrical poem. This poem is not written in a blank verse form or in a free verse form. This poem is not at all written in a blank verse form or free verse form. It is having a rhyme scheme. It is having a rhyme scheme. There is a couplet. So the poem is lyrical. It is a lyrical poem. So lyrical poem comprises of the quality of the song. It takes the quality of the song, lucidity, softness, tenderness, lyricism. All these things are there. So you mark fluttering and dancing. Fluttering is going on. Dancing is going on. It refers to the perpetuality, permanence. That fluttering gives you the rhythmic sound. That gives you the musical sound. But the music has beauty, you mark. Why did I cite the example of solitary poor? The girl was singing that beautiful song. That song was very beautiful. That song had beauty. What did the song say? What did the song say? Wordsworth knew. And the girl was singing just like more than the cuckoo bird. More beautifully. She was singing so beautifully that it would surpass the beauty of the song sung by the cuckoo bird, sung by the nightingale. Behold her singly on in the field, solitary highland lass. The first line of the poem. Behold her singly on in the field, solitary highland lass. Very beautifully. You see, behold. Perhaps that song has a reference to words. A sad event, a massacre, M-A-S-S-A-C-R-E, massacre, M-A-S-S-A-C-R-E, massacre. It may refer to a massacre, it may refer to a sad event, a tragic event. What the poet has felt. But finally, when he leaves the place, when the poet leaves the place, the song comes to his memory. That rings in the lyre of his heart. That it is resounded, that it is echoed in the strings of a lyre of his heart. I listened motionless and still, as I mounted up the hill, the song in my heart I bore, long after it was heard no more. So permanently the song is heard. That is echoed. That is reflected. That comes to his memory. When the poet is in vacant or in pensive mood. What he has already pointed out here in the poem. In the last part of the poem, he will say all these things. That poem has a similarity. The taste is only one. The thing is only one. The essence is only one. And in most of the nature poems of William Wordsworth, we will see The theme is perhaps the same. Wordsworth has written the poem World, which is a sonnet. The poem World is a sonnet. The world is very much with us. We have no time to stand and stare. We have no time to stand and stare. What nature is, what nature gives, how it is a benevolent power. It is not at all malevolent. It is a benevolent power. But we should sojourn before nature. We should surrender before nature. And Wordsworth has done it. You mark. Because I say, when William Wordsworth sees a large number of daffodils, the motion of his blood has been suspended. He is at home with the flowers. He is very close to the flowers, at home with the flowers. As if the entity he has is lost. The entity he has, the being he has, is lost. The entity he has is lost. The motion of blood has been suspended. He is at home with the nature, the benevolent power of nature, the perpetual power of nature. And nature is all in all for him. Because nature is God, nature is truth, nature is full of beauty, nature is everything. It is a source of supreme pleasure, you mark. It is a source of supreme joy, supreme happiness, ecstasy. That is called rapture, R-A-P-T-U-R-E. It is a source of rapture. It is a source of supreme pleasure, supreme joy, supreme happiness. And you mark, the daffodils are fluttering and dancing at the same time. They are flapping their body, they are flapping their wings. The daffodils have no wings at all. But in the breeze, they produce very mild sound. You mark. They produce very genial sound, very mild sound, very soft sound, very tender sound. The tender touch of the flower, you mark. The tender touch of the flower is beyond fathom, is beyond fathom, is beyond calculation, is beyond measures. That is unfathomable. The tender touch. Dear students, you mark. The nature poem will never fill your belly. It will fill your mind. It will give many things to your mind. But it can never fill your belly. So, Wordsworth wants to get a feedback from the world of nature. He wants to get something from the world of nature to fill his mind. Because he has been dejected for a pretty long time. He is panic-stricken for a pretty long time. He has been panic-stricken for a pretty long time. He has been dejected. His heart was bereaved. His heart is bereaved. His heart is laden with sorrow. Because he has lost. The loss is irreparable. The loss is irreparable. Cannot be fulfilled. He has lost. The father died, mother died, wife died, son died. The members of the family passed away. The members of the family breathed their last. Wordsworth alone was palely loitering with his sister Dorothy. Dorothy was a source of inspiration for him, you mark. Dorothy, his loving sister, was a source of inspiration for him. In most of his poems, Dorothy occupies a major position. Some of the lines will say what Dorothy is. Wordsworth has also pointed out about Dorothy. He has told about Dorothy in some of the lines. In most of the poems, you mark. So you come to the poem. The fluttering and dancing are going side by side. So that refers to the perpetuality, and they go on fluttering, they go on dancing in the mild breeze. In the mild breeze, they are dancing like the human beings, like the peacocks, like other human beings. So, in the last line of the couplet, there is personification, fluttering and dancing. They are fluttering just like birds, what the birds do, and they are also dancing like a human being, or like a peacock, or like any other creatures, deer, they also dance. So these two things are going side by side. You mark, dear students, coming closer to the lake district, coming closer to the margin of the bay, coming closer to Woolswater, the poet sees daffodils. Then he points out the name of the lake. Then he points out where does he see the daffodils. Then he points out. The place is a lake, and beside the lake and beneath the trees. Under the trees, not a tree, trees, you mark, plural form of trees. Perhaps trees are there. Yes, trees. Under the trees, beneath the trees, and beside the lake, they are fluttering and dancing. What do they give? What do they bring? In which way they affect the poet or they impact the poet? So these things are very essential. Dear students, you mark, nature always lifts our spirit. It lifts our spirit. It never harms us. Nature never harms us. Nature always works for the good of the human being. Not for good, for the good. For the good of the human beings. For the good of its creatures. In the nature, there is the presence of a divine. The presence of a divine is marked by William Wordsworth. So that is why I want to say, as if the motion of his blood has been suspended, and the poet is at home with the flowers, is very close to the flowers, living his day-to-day life, living the mundane chaos, forgetting his sister Dorothy. Though Dorothy is there with him, he forgets. Wordsworth is not at all an escapist, you mark. Wordsworth is not at all an escapist who has already gone to a different world. But Wordsworth jane पलायनवादी नुहे जे कि आउ गोटे भिन्न पृथ्वी के जाइछंती above the mundane chaos. You cannot say that. Wordsworth is not an escapist. He has not gone away from the world of reality, from the mundane chaos. He has not gone. But within the world, roaming on this earth, he sees the daffodils. And most of the poets, they have already gone away from the world of reality. They have already gone away. And they have written on the beauty of nature, on the beauty of nature, on the magnanimity, on the very beautiful qualities of nature. So many qualities have already been portrayed by most of the poets. But they have already gone away from the world of reality. But Wordsworth never does that. You mark. Wordsworth has never gone away from the world of reality. He is within the real world. He is roaming on the real earth and sees a large number of daffodils. Only the flowers have made something. They have inculcated something in him. They have instilled something in him so that he has lost his entity. He has lost his entity, being, getting something out of the very beauty of nature. Nature is always beautiful. Beauty is beautiful, you mark. Beauty is beautiful. Nature is always beautiful. It has attraction, fascination, or it will attract the poet, no doubt. Everybody it will attract. It is a benevolent force, or it is a benevolent force. That is why you are to be attracted towards it. But it will never do any mesmerism. It will never do any mesmerism. It will never do any magic. Necromancy, Necromancy. It will never do any magic. Rather, by its natural beauty, it will attract you. You mark, beside the lake, beneath the tree. Beside the lake, beneath the tree. Alliteration. Beside the lake, beneath the B sound is hard. Beside the lake, beneath the tree, it is about the alliteration. It is about the alliteration. Beside the lake, beneath the tree, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. In the mild breeze, they are fluttering and dancing in the mild breeze. This is about the stanza 1. You come to stanza 2. Continuous are the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in a never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. Continuous as the stars that shine. Continuous as the stars that shine. Continuous, you mark. What is the meaning of continual and continuous? Continual, C-O-N-T-I-N-U-A-L, continual is having break. And continuous is without break, you mark. Continual and continuous, C-O-N-T-I-N-U-A-L, C-O-N-T-I-N-U-O-U-S. What is the meaning? So continual is having break. There is break in continuity. But continuous, it is permanent, it is perpetual, going on. There is no break. So the poet wants to say, continuous as the stars that shine. So there is a luminous band of stars, you mark. A luminous band of stars encircles the sky. A luminous band of stars encircles the sky, encircles the other stars. A luminous band, L-U-M-I-N-O-U-S, a luminous band. So there is a perpetuality, continuity. Continuous as the stars that shine, as the stars. There is a edge in the line, edge. When you will find edge like, there is a simile. In the line or sentence, S-I-M-I-L-E, simile. You will have a simile. You have already got a simile here. In the line, continuous as the stars. That is a luminous band of stars. A large number of stars gathered. They are in the sky. The pip, the nudge, the glitter. The pip, the nudge, the glitter. You mark continuously, not continually. But they are doing that continuously. Without any break. They are doing that. You mark. Continuous age. Continuous as the stars that shine. Here, do they shine? And the twinkle on the Milky Way. What is a Milky Way? So Milky Way is a luminous band. It is a luminous band of stars. A glittering band. A shining band. A luminous band of stars encircling the sky or other stars. Tara Punja. That is called Milky Way. Continuous are the stars that shine. This is a simile. Example of a simile is there. As is there. Because the flowers are compared to the stars in the Milky Way. The flowers, daffodils, are compared to the stars on the Milky Way. Stars on the Milky Way. So, by saying this or by giving this line, he has already offered you, he has already given you a simile, as is there. A comparison between two unlike things. Stars, you mark. Divine embodiment, and you mark daffodils on the earth. Daffodils are present on the earth. They are tossing and dancing, they are also fluttering. Stars are there in the sky, just above our head. They are peeping, nudging. They are also glittering, shining. You mark. So the daffodils are doing the work of the stars on the earth, you mark. On the earth, the daffodils are doing the work of the stars. Stars are all divine embodiments. They are all divine powers. So this power has already come to the flowers. The flowers on earth and the stars in heaven, you mark. Above our head, above everything. And the stars are there, luminous band of stars. Glittering band, they are all glittering and shining. You mark. So these flowers are compared to the band of stars that has already, a band of stars that has already encircled the sky, encircled other stars. So that can be like that. So continuous are the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way. They are twinkling star, twinkle, twinkle, little stars. They stretched in never-ending line. You cannot imagine. Your eye cannot reach. Your eye cannot reach. Your vision cannot reach. Because they are dancing in such a way, in an ever stretching way, ever stretching, ever stretched. So there is no limit, limitless. So the daffodils are just there, found on the margin of the bay, on the lake district, and they have covered a long distance that eyes can never reach the end of the distance, the eyes cannot reach. So that is why it is unfathomable, or it is quite, it is beyond the fathom, it is beyond fathom, or beyond measures, beyond calculation. And the poet, giving this line, has also offered you a hyperbolical image, that is a hyperbole, that is called a hyperbole. The stretched in a never-ending line, the line as if the line has not been ended, never-ending line, along the margin of a bay, in the lake district, beside the lake. What he says, along the margin of the bay, 10,000 saw at a glance. The poet has marked, or the poet has seen 10,000 of flowers. 10,000 of flowers. Is it also possible? Is it possible? Yes, it is possible, no doubt. It is possible. Without seeing 1, 2, 3, the poet has seen more than, or the poet has seen 10,000 flowers at a glance, all on a sudden, or all of a sudden. We say that this is a hyperbolical image. This is a hyperbolical image. A hyperbole is there, a figure of speech. Ever stretching line is a hyperbole. He has given the line is ever stretching. The line cannot be measured. So they are tossing, they are fluttering, they are dancing. They are doing the work of the human beings. They are doing the work of other living creatures. And without paying any attention to anybody. Without paying any attention, they are going on doing their duty. But the poet is there to enjoy the beauty, infringing beauty, fathomless beauty. What daffodils have already presented beside the lake and beneath the tree in the lake district. You mark. 10,000 saw at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. They are tossing their heads. So this is about the personification. The last line of the stanza, that is the last line of the couplet, is about the personification, tossing their heads. The poet has already pointed out about the heads of the daffodils. The heads of the daffodils, that gives indication that it is a personification, nothing but a personification. Just above, you mark, the fifth line of the stanza, second stanza, is about a hyperbole. It is about a hyperbolical image, superfluous image, or excess image, excess things are told. 10,000 saw I at a glance. Is it possible to see 10,000 flowers at 10,000 things? One can easily see 1, 2, 3 things or 4 things. A limited few, a selected few. One can easily be, they can easily be grasped. They can easily be seen. But 10,000 flowers will give you the example of a figure of speech that is about the hyperbole or that is about the exaggeration. This is about the hyperbole. Normally you mark the hyperbole. Two hyperboles are there. One is never-ending line, endless line, never-ending line, and 10,000 saw at a glance. These are two hyperboles. And other simile is there in the first line of the second stanza. Simile, there is edge, and in the last line of the stanza, there is personification, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. You mark, continuous of the stars that shine. The stars are shining continuously on the Milky Way. They are glittering. They look like gold. They are glittering. They are shining on the Milky Way, on the band of stars. The stretched never-ending line. You cannot imagine an endless line, ever stretching along the margin of the bay. Bay is nothing but a lake. Bay is nothing but a, you see your Bay of Bengal. You see your Bay of Bengal, Upasagara. It is also a lake, a bay, margin of the bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. So, by giving the personification, the poet ends the stanza, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. Joyfully they are dancing. They rejoice. Joyfully they are dancing. Joyfully they are rejoicing. You mark. The flowers tossing their heads in sprightly, very joyfully, with pleasure, sufficient pleasure, with ecstasy, with rapture. They are all doing their work without paying any attention to anybody else. Rather, the poet is very attentive. You mark. The poet is very attentive. And the daffodils are not paying any attention to the poet. But the poet is at home with the daffodils. Very at home with the daffodils. Very close, very akin. You cannot imagine. So I have already pointed out, as if the motion of the blood has already been suspended. The motion of the blood, the entity is no more found. The being is no more found. The entity is no more found. And the motion of a blood has already been suspended because he is at home with the flowers, very close to the flowers. Dear students, this is about the second stanza of the poem. I have told you something about the introduction of the poem. The first stanza of the poem I have given elaborately, and this is about the second stanza of the poem. The last two lines are a couplet. The two lines give you, the fifth line gives you a hyperbole. The sixth line gives you the personification. And the third line, never-ending line, third line gives you hyperbole. And the first line of the stanza, continuous at the stars that shine, gives you a simile. So these are all figures of speech, very much important. Sometimes you will also face different situations there in the examination, and you are to consult the book of M.H. Abrams, a book of literary terms, M.H. Abrams, and Jacob Abraham, a Caroli writer, Jacob Abraham, who has already given you a very beautiful book, a brief history of the literary terms by Jacob Abraham, a Caroli writer, and M.H. Abraham has also given you a very good book you are to consult. Dear students, I have already pointed out about the realism of Wordsworth, the adherence towards nature, which is very important. Only nature is not important for him. The realism which is attached to nature, which is very akin to nature, which is very close to nature, that is very important. The realism of Wordsworth to adherence towards nature. Thank you all today. Thank you all. And in the next class I will discuss the third stanza of the poem. Thank you all.